We're building our dream screen printing and art studio in our basement, and today we are going vertical. We are going to start building out our use-based workstation that's going to be in this corner, and the first step of doing that is framing out walls. So we're going to have a wall here and a wall here and make a little corner. We bought all our wood and it's ready to cut, so let's get started. Finally invested in some sawhorses, so I don't have to do a makeshift cutting station and kill my back every time I cut plywood or 2x4s or whatever. Did I just break it? I totally just broke it. Gosh dang it. Well, it'll be fine. So our first cut's gonna be pretty straightforward. Really, all these cuts are gonna be kind of straightforward. So we're gonna start with a little partition wall, and that wall is going to be pretty much perfectly 6 feet tall and 4 feet wide, which means our 2x4s, these are all 8 feet in length. This one's a little more actually. We are going to cut it down exactly in the middle into 2 4-foot sections for our top and base plate. Oh, and we bought a speed square too. Look at that. We're officially official now. But while we're here, we'll mark out the second board, and these will need to be the studs essentially, which will need to be 6 feet tall in total, but to account for the top and bottom plates, we need to subtract 2 inches each. And we'll mark it at 68 inches. And we'll need 3 of these studs total, 2 on the sides, 1 in the middle, so we'll need to cut 2 more boards like this. I am going to trim this end right here just so we get perfectly to 4 foot sections. So we're going to give a little more stability here and see if this speed square gets us perfectly straight. Cool. But there's our 2 4-foot studs. And then we'll get started on our vertical stud here, which is going to be 6 feet. Cool, we're cooking here. And just like that, our boards are cut. Pretty evenly too, I might add. This wall is going to extend out like this. It's going to help kind of block off the studio a little bit more and be another spot to take product photos. So it's a little dual purpose. We're going to start building this one first before we do the 10-foot long wall, just so we get a little bit of practice in. All right, so let's lay out our wall here roughly. Top board, stud, stud, stud. I'm just going to line this up and send it. Not so bad too far. The moment of truth. Oh my gosh. First try, we did it. Is that like a new union first? That's crazy. So this wall is going to go here. We're going to screw it into this wall and attach it. I'm actually going to inset this just a smidge so that when we put the plywood facing on top, it's flush with this wall. I don't know how great we're going to do, but we're going to try our best here. We'll see when we put the plywood on it, but we're going to lock that in for now. All right, that's pretty good. I was hoping to not have to drill down into the concrete, but I think we're gonna have to, unfortunately. We'll figure that out later, but for now, let's cut the rest of the wood. So these are 10-foot boards. They're gonna be for our longest wall, and we're gonna cut them down just a little bit to 117.5. I can't tell you how nice it is having these sawhorses though. Cool, so this, our top and bottom plates, we're just gonna cut some studs real fast. The rest of our cuts are going to be cutting down these 8-foot boards to exactly 7 feet for our studs. So we're just going to get these churned out. Since these are not structural walls, we're just doing 24-inch stud spacing, since 24-inch stud spacing is a lot more cost effective. And since it's not really going to be holding or supporting anything, we can get away with it. That being said, laying these out, it does not feel right. But we're just gonna go with it and we're gonna trust it. All right, I'm gonna get the outside box screwed in, and then we'll space out our studs in the middle. Then we just need to mark out 24 inches on center. Okay, so we completely need more boards than this. So I don't know if we're gonna have enough boards for our other wall. But that makes me more sense because just 2 of these boards was not nearly close enough to being structurally sound. Board's here. So this is how it's supposed to be. That makes way more sense. So far, all of our cuts have been perfect. Everything's been lining up. Color me shocked. This is the moment of truth now. The moment of truth. We designed this to fit right up to the joists. Looks like we are a couple inches short. I'm realizing now I did my math wrong. So for some dumb reason, I was assuming since there was going to be 2 2x4s, I subtracted 4 inches total from these studs, not thinking for some dumb reason that obviously 2x4s are 1 inch thick. But I think I know how I'm going to fix this. Everything else about it looks great. We do need to drill out a little bit of here for this conduit so it can lay flush against the wall. Other than that, not too shabby. So the idea is pretty simple. We're just going to throw a couple of the scrap 2x4s there as shims. That should fill that gap perfectly, but we're going to do a test one before we get too far. All right, so let's just run a test with that one extra 2x4. Oh yeah. Once we rubber mallet that in, that's going to be perfect. Sweet. So that's what we're doing moving forward. Off to a good start. I put this side in, that side pops out. Well, that 2x4's in. We just need to get this side in. All right, we're gonna try some. It needs like less than 1/8 of an inch. I'm just gonna jigsaw it out real fast. Okay, that's ink. We're gonna see if it works. Nope, I still don't think that's gonna work. We thought it through last night. Before we put up this wall, I want to do a couple things. We are going to coat this bottom board in polyurethane. We're going to do this so it has a little bit of a waterproofing barrier. Since this is going to be in contact with the ground, we're just going to be a little overly cautious and put a coat of waterproofing polyurethane on it just so it's a little more durable and resistant to potential water issues. So let's give this a quick coat, polyurethane, and let it dry. On a side note, polyurethane is freaking expensive. It did work out a little bit though, because we are going to need this for the entirety of our plywood work surfaces, so it'll work out. We've got it all right now, so we don't have to worry about it, but man, it's expensive stuff. Cool, we'll seal that up and save it for later. Okay, we tried a couple different things, 1x4, 1x2, nothing worked. So we're just gonna go back to Old Faithful and hope that we basically just took the circular saw, did some relief cuts, and cut out the middle. And I do have to say, it fits almost perfectly on a joist. As long as our wall is where it needs to be, we're gonna be in good shape. Oh my gosh. I think once we screw that in, that's gonna be perfect. So now that that works, let's get it screwed in. And then we'll put the wall up and screw into this from the wall. We do need to cut a couple more of these boards though. Luckily, trying to jam these in kind of made a mark, so we can kind of see exactly how much we need without measuring. So like that's how wide it needs to be. We'll just make a couple cuts to try and get this cleared out, really is all it is. Cool, so that should be like enough cuts to just kind of break these pieces off, like that. Ooh, we got a whole one right there, like perfect. All right, then this one's just easy. All right, the moment of truth. This is the moment of truth now. The moment of truth. Yes, think we did it. We'll just line everything up, screw it in, and we're all set, I think. So now, we will just screw these in. So put a couple more screws in, but that feels pretty dang secure. I was going to try and avoid having to nail it down into the floor, but we don't have the stuff for that, so we'll have to do that in another video. Either way, our first wall is done, on to the second wall. So our second wall over is going to go this way. It's going to be a little more tricky because we do want to avoid blocking out these windows, because why would we cover them up? So we did have to cut a few extra boards for the top plate to make that all fit in and work how it should. So we'll see how good our measurements were. But let's start laying this out. So it does look like this board is just going to be like maybe an inch too long, which is not a huge deal. We'll just give this a bit of a trim. All right, that board's good now. And then since we only have 2 studs left over, we're going to put them on each side of the window well so everything fits nicely. So it won't be evenly spaced, but it'll fit the window well and reduce the use of lumber. Before we throw up this wall though, we are, in addition to the polyurethane, we're going to put down this sill plate. I think that's what it's called. It's another moisture barrier, just, you know, one more step to avoid moisture in here, which it's a basement in Michigan, you know. Roll this out, stuff it under. All right, it's the moment of truth. The moment of truth. The moment of truth. The moment of truth. What is kind of running into the way, as I feared. I mean, our window's cut in pretty well, though, do you have to say? So, unfortunately, on this joist, there's some metal sheathing, which means we can't really attach this wall to the joist. So we're definitely going to have to drill these into the floor, which is not the end of the world. It's probably a good idea in the long run anyways. But let's attach it to the other wall in the corner here first. Now, before I boast about anything too much, let's see how level these are. Okay, we're in the lines. We're good. This way. This stud's good. That stud's perfect. I'm shocked, guys. We did good. For, like, never constructing walls before, not bad. It has been another day, and our walls are still standing, so that is a good thing. We've got a couple of small, tiny detail things to finish up with this wall, but we're going to do that next week. So, we'll see you then. Oh, and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.